Hi guys, today I'd like to talk to you about soldering your XT60 connections onto your lipo batteries. Now sometimes when you order an aftermarket lipo battery, you'll find that it's got a different connector on. Here we have a connector which is known as Dean's, and we want to put an XT60 connector on. So this is what you need to do. First of all, cut one of the power cables, but don't cut both. Then trim off a few millimeters of the silicone tubing to expose the wires inside. It's a common mistake to cut off too much of the silicone tubing. You can check if you cut off the right amount by using your XT60 connector and putting the cable inside. As you can see here, we have enough cable for us on show for us to solder to, and we have our silicone tubing right up against the solder point. Here we place our XT60 connector in a jig. This just holds it in one place and makes it easier to solder to. Before we start soldering though, we have to get a piece of heat shrink tubing. Cut off around 15mm and then place this over the cable that you've just cut. Make sure you push it right to the end so it doesn't get hot and shrink. Now let's tin the end of our cable. Here we're using a 60/40 solder. And once you've done that, do the same to your XT60 connector. As you can see, that jig that we have the XT60 connected to is actually making it very easy for us. If you don't have one of these, you can make one out of a piece of wood. I'll show you this later. Once you're happy with the amount of solder you have on there, it's time to connect your cable. And it's as simple as that. Heat up your cable, and as you do this, place it onto the XT60 connector so the solder melts on there too. Give the solder a few seconds to cool down and then slide up the heat shrink that you previously installed. Here we're using a heat gun to shrink the tubing. If you don't have one of these, you can use something simple like a lighter. Then repeat the process with the other cable. As I mentioned, if you don't have a heat gun, you can use a lighter. And it's as simple as that. In this video, you've seen us using this metal jig to hold our connectors. And as I mentioned, if you don't have one of these, you can simply use a piece of wood. Here we've notched out the shapes of our connectors, and as you can see, once we push them in, it stays in nice and firm, giving you a good base to solder to. And there you have it, it's as simple as that. Don't waste your time buying battery connector converters when it's as easy as this to do it properly.